So for my bibliography, I wanted to highlight a few of the key resources that I found to be particularly interesting and really had the biggest impact on my progress through this experience. So I'll take you through a few of those just to kind of give you an idea of some of the research that I found. So this first article that I read about combining traditional and new literacies in a 21st century writing workshop talked about a third grade classroom where students were also writing narratives. This is where I got the idea for my unit plan to have the students speak into the computers to share their drafts for their writing. She had her students do that and found that it was very successful, that they were able to offer far more detail in their writing and produce better quality writing if they were able to tell their stories verbally versus writing the draft and then doing their editing from there. So in this study, the teacher offered her students a variety of um, different programs or different platforms for them to publish their stories, their final drafts, and I think for me right now that might be a little bit ambitious because I'm not 100% comfortable with all of the different platforms that are available, and so I think I might start with one or two options for my students, and then as I and they grow more comfortable with the process and how it goes, then maybe we can add some different options for how they would like to publish their work. So overall, this article really gave many benefits to digital storytelling and really helped to reinforce for me that it was a strategy that would do a lot of good in my classroom and could really benefit my students. The next piece that I wanted to talk about was digital storytelling in practice. And this author talked about how digital storytelling can really help to build 21st century skills in quite a wide variety of them. So of course the students will be building their writing skills as they continue to write stories and to publish them. But by incorporating that technology piece, they're able to work on so many more skills, like their keyboarding skills. As they're typing, they'll need to work on their communication skills, both as they're telling their story to be able to tell an engaging story, a really well written story for their audience. But they might also need to work on those communication skills with their peers as they're working together to revise and edit their writing. They'll also need to cultivate their problem solving skills, their critical thinking skills, as they're troubleshooting, fixing up their story, making it look like the mentor text, or maybe technology problems, things like that. Those are all skills that they'll need to work on that they might not get to exercise if we weren't incorporating new strategies like this into our teaching. And so I felt that this really helped to reinforce that digital storytelling maximizes student learning. I'm able to hit so many different areas of my students' learning with one learning strategy. And so that reinforced, again, for me that this was a good idea to incorporate into my writing instruction. And then the next item that I wanted to talk about was the educational uses of digital storytelling. And this is where it kind of opened my eyes to all the different ways that digital storytelling could be used in the classroom beyond just writing a story and publishing it online. It talked about that as one option, but it also talked about teachers creating digital stories and sharing those with students so that we have, mentor texts that work exactly the way that we need them to fit the lesson, or creating examples for students so that they know what digital stories might look like when they go to create their own. It also talked about perhaps doing shared reading experiences and then having students present what happened in those stories, having them make a visual representation of the book that they just shared together. And I thought that all of those were really neat ideas of different ways to stretch your students' learning, and that's where I started to incorporate different standards that I hadn't considered at first as I saw all the different ways that this could be used. So it's a really versatile instructional strategy that I feel like can be used in a lot of ways to meet the needs of a lot of different students. The How to Use Digital Storytelling in Your Classroom article helped to put my mind at ease a little bit because I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I feel that I'm pretty savvy with technology, but looking through some of these resources had me feeling a little overwhelmed, and I wasn't sure if I understood them enough to teach my students how to use them. But reading this article reassured me that our students know a lot about technology already, and they might know even more than we do. And so we shouldn't be afraid to explore these new things that we're not 100% sure about yet, because they might be able to teach us some things. They won't be afraid to try new things, and so we need to allow them to expand in those ways and take those risks with them. So then a couple of resources that I found that could be used to publish student writing. One of those was Storybird, which I referenced in my unit plan. I had mentioned that it offers different formats for students to publish their stories in. They can upload their media, pictures, or choose from what the website has to offer, so they're adding artwork to their story. They can also add collaborators, so peers could work together either to give feedback or to write stories together. And then it had the opportunity to share their work with the class or with parents or whoever you give the access code to look at all of those different published works. And then another option was WeVideo, and this one was a little bit more in-depth, and this is where I started to feel a little bit overwhelmed because it was a lot of video editing, which I think that students would think is really cool. And so I thought that this one might work well, or if students were putting on a visual representation of a text that they had read together, because they can upload videos, they can upload images, they can edit those video clips and add different effects to them. And so I thought that that would be really neat for them. I think they would be really motivated by that, and they'd be able to come up with a really cool final product. The only drawback to this one was that you do have to pay for a subscription to the website after your 90-day trial is over. But I think that the value is worth that cost if you are going to use it regularly in your classroom. So you would have to decide if that's a good fit for you or not. So overall, after reading through all of these different resources, I felt really confident that digital storytelling is a good instructional strategy, and I think it will really fit the needs of a lot of the students that I am servicing and help them to really grow and learn as much as they can while they're with